How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with your boys, Alex and Ryan. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. We got a night game tonight in spring training, of course. We'll be at it and making sure you guys get all the good news following the game and the post-game report and post-game video. But today we're talking about two relievers. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to like and subscribe. As always, my friends, daily content for this Yankee team coming out. And the regular season is just a couple days away. We're really excited, but we still have some work to do and kind of ironing out the 26-man roster. And Ryan and I have two relief pitchers that could fit into the bullpen and maybe be surprise, add-ons to this roster and help this team during the regular season. But before we dive into it, Ryan, how you do today, my friend?
I'm doing great. I view this bullpen, I view this team as one that has a lot of depth on that side of the ball. This team definitely has plenty of options that can go out there and put up high level and have high level stuff and have, that elite level arsenal that the Yankees kind of love. And looking at this bullpen, there are plenty of guys that we could talk about. There are millions of guys we could talk about. I mean, left and right in spring training, there are guys that are throwing 99 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour, or throwing a wicked breaking ball or putting up really good numbers. But the guy I think I got to go with here is Matt Crook. Now Matt Crook is someone who's been with the organization for 2 years now. The Yankees signed him prior to the 2021 season. He was a longtime prospect with the Rays and the Giants. He was actually part of the Evan Longoria trade. So, this is a guy that the Rays at some point had pretty high hopes for. Injuries and just not finding it as a starter. He really struggled to succeed at the higher levels of the minors. And the Rays inevitably just kind of let him go into minor league free agency. He is an older prospect. I say prospect, and I put that in quotation marks, at the age of 28. He's a guy who hasn't debuted at the major league level yet. But what we do know is that, Brian Hoke reported this, that the Yankees were so intrigued by Matt Crook's stuff. They're so infatuated by his pitch arsenal. They were considering debuting him in the 2022 postseason. He was around with the taxi squad. They were considering putting him on the roster. He's someone that I know for a fact the Yankees really do like. And he's someone that has the pitch mix of a guy that the Yankees are going to have, kind of a bias towards, which is that sweeper, right? He has a sinker. He has a sweeping slider. The Yankees don't have a lot of left-handed arms, right? At the major league level, it's really just Wandy Peralta. And while they do have guys who can deal with lefties, such as Ron Marinaccio, such as Greg Weissert, right? Which is kind of surprising to think about because he's also a sinker-slider guy, but he does have reverse splits. Same with Albert Abreu. But the thing is, the Yankees can't just use these guys as, lefty or guys that you only use against lefties, right? That would kind of be a waste of, their uses, right? And while, I'm not sitting here and saying those guys aren't capable of doing it, and the Yankees are going to struggle against left-handed batters, it certainly does help to have another left-handed arm in there just to give you another look. And also, you have to think about how batters match up against left-handed batters, how batters match up against changeups, or whatever it may be. Crook is kind of a different type of lefty because he doesn't rely on vertical deception to get outs like the way Ron Marinaccio or Greg Weissert would against lefties. He relies more on that east to west movement, which gives lefties a different look. It's really tough to try to hit that sinker-slider combination. He also has a cutter in there that he's included just to try to get more swings because he struggles a lot with generating swings out of their strike zone, which inflates his walk rate. And while yes, his ERA at AAA last year was not very encouraging, 4.09, the FIP of 4.81. He struggled with a lot of things, walks, keeping the ball in the ballpark, those are things he struggled with last year. But end of the day, that's as a starting pitcher. The Yankees are not using Matt Crook as a starting pitcher most likely. Maybe he gets a spot start here and there, but the more likely outcome is that the Yankees are looking at Matt Crook as a reliever, as someone that they're going to potentially use in a bullpen role. We saw the Yankees move him out of the rotation in late September when they put him in the bullpen for his final 4 outings because it seemed like they were kind of trying to groom him towards that role. And in those 4 outings, he tossed 12 innings. He struck out 4 batters, 3 ERA, a 2.67 FIP. What he does works really well in small samples. It works really well in short spurts. It's kind of exactly how the Yankees should use Matt Crook. They could use him as a spot starter. They could use him just as a guy who gives him bulk innings. But Crook has the versatility to give you 2-3 innings if need be, or just get that one left-handed batter out, or give you a spot start, whatever you need. The Yankees are going to need that type of pitching depth, that type of versatility, that high-level stuff. He's someone I think the Yankees really need to give a big look at, especially this spring training.
Yeah, I mean, look, Crook has been solid. I think his last appearance was a little bit rocky, but so far so good for him. He's definitely a guy that the Yankees brass is extremely high on, and it's becoming apparent that he could make the 26-man roster. But there's another one that I have in mind too, in Tanner Tully. Tanner Tully is a really interesting player. Spent the majority of his career with the Cleveland Guardians, and really only pitched 6 innings at the professional level last year, and that's it. That's his only professional experience. He's 28 years old. He's a lefty, and as Ryan mentioned earlier, the Yankees don't have many diverse options in the bullpen. It's Wandy Peralta. That's your guy. That's one of our best bullpen arms. And yes, he's our only lefty at this point in time. So Tanner Tully, because of his versatility and for what it's worth, he's pitched over 100 innings multiple seasons. So, in fact, I actually see Tanner Tully as a potential replacement for Lucas Litke. I think that might have been why they ended up trading Lucas Litke to the San Diego Padres to begin with, was because they saw Tully and was like, this is a much cheaper option. And ultimately, it's a lot easier for the Yankees to kind of justify this on a cheaper deal. And, he's going to be making next to nothing. So it's exciting to see a player that's, elevating his game and has some potential here. But he's been really, really, really good in spring training so far. He has walked 1 batter, struck out 2 over 5.2 innings, and hasn't given up a single run. So, Ryan, when you're looking at Tanner Tully, I know he's not the most eye-popping name on the entire roster. He's someone that is kind of going under the radar, but he's been excellent up to this point in spring training. What are your thoughts on Tanner Tully? Do you think that he has a chance to make this roster?
Yeah, so I think kind of the one thing that he has going against him is he doesn't have a 40-man roster spot, right? Or he may not have a 40-man roster spot. I might want to double check that, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't because of his minor league contract. Which inherently presents an issue of the Yankees would have to take someone off the roster in order to put Tully on the roster, but he certainly has been impressive, number one. And number two, again, he has that slider that the Yankees like, that sweeping slider. That's something that the Yankees have kind of made their bread and butter. That's something the Yankees are kind of known for now. And so having a slider like that definitely means that he fits the profile of what the Yankees are looking for. Tully and Crook are very similar in the sense that both of them rely on that east to west movement, though Tully does have a changeup instead of a cutter, unlike Crook. But at the end of the day, I think the big thing the Yankees should be looking for here is to have that final bullpen spot go to someone like Tully, like Crook, who can give them multiple innings, is left-handed. Is the left-handed thing necessarily a necessity? No. If there was a guy like Jimmy Cordero, if he finishes camp really strong, and his velocity looks good and the stuff looks good, I would have no problem with the Yankees choosing to roster Cordero. But the way I look at it is the Yankees kind of need length out of the bullpen, right? Even a Davy Garcia kind of fits into this mold. The Yankees need guys who are going to be able to give them depth because Herman and Schmidt, more so Schmidt. Schmidt has not completed 5 innings at the major league level yet. As much as I love Schmidt's stuff, I don't think that the Yankees are going to be asking him in his first start of the season to throw 7 innings for them. You know what I mean? And on top of that, if you're up by a lot, if you're losing by a lot, you don't want to dip into your main bullpen, especially in a crucial series. I'm thinking you're playing a team like the Blue Jays. It's July. It's a big series. Whoever wins that series is going to have a distinct advantage in the division, right? If in game 1 you're up by a lot or down by a lot, you don't want to throw, Jonathan Loaizaga and Clay Holmes and Wandy Peralta and Ron Marinaccio and Michael King to try to fill out those final innings when you could just throw out Matt Crook or Tanner Tully and say, all right, here's 3 innings, go take that. That's something that Lucas Litke did for the Yankees, right? As much as people may not have liked Lucas Litke, he was able to do that. He threw about 60, 70 innings last year and then the year prior as well. And last year we saw him complete 3 inning saves. We saw him complete 2 inning saves. We saw him go out there and the Yankees say, all right, we're up by a lot. Here's the ball. Go finish out these last 2 or 3 innings, and he was able to do that. That's super valuable for this team. The Yankees asked Clark Schmidt to do things like that as well. End of the day, the Yankees have clearly shown that they like having guys in their bullpen who can give them a lot of bulk, and that's something that either of these 2 guys would be able to give the Yankees, and that's something that is going to save your pitching staff down the road. These 2 also have minor league options, so that means that in the situation where one of these guys is struggling, you can always just send them down. It's not like you have to cut them. It's not like you have to DFA them. It's not like you have to phantom IL them. And also, if one of them is to be used for a 3-inning game and you're not going to have them for 3 or 4 days, you could send them down. We saw the Yankees do this with Schmidt where, whenever the time called for it, they would send down Schmidt and kind of let him sit there and use different arms instead. I know the Yankees sent him down for Albert Abreu when they claimed him because they really liked Abreu and they really liked what he had in his arm. And then Schmidt came back up, right? Injuries happen all the time. Yankees are going to lose guys, right? You look at that bullpen, you look at how good it looks on paper. I guarantee you at least two more of those guys on top of Trevino, on top of Canley, are going to get hurt during this season, at least, right? So you're going to need guys who can throw you a lot of innings, and these two guys give you that. And quite frankly, I'm intrigued by their sliders. So I'm always a sweeper fan. The Yankees are fans of the sweepers. So they kind of fit everything the Yankees are looking for and everything the Yankees kind of preach as an organization.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, talking about sweeping sliders, and I just wrote about Luis Severino, and he was saying that his slider is not where he wants it to be, and it's not about the velocity, it's about his location. His accuracy's been off with it. And the slider, he has one of the best sliders on the team, maybe one of the best sliders in the entire league when he's actually on. So it takes him a little bit of time to ramp it up, but just wanted to throw in that little nugget of information because Severino has been trying to get that pitch, on point, and it takes some time, but he's making good progress, and we've kind of seen him get a little bit better every time he's made an appearance during spring training. But, you mentioned kind of Clark Schmidt and some other names there. I imagine that Herman and Schmidt are going to fill the 4 or 5 spots in the starting rotation, right? So because we didn't anticipate Clark Schmidt being a starter and Herman being a starter, we anticipated one of them getting a starting spot and the other one falling into a bullpen role. That may open up another, spot in the 26-man rotation, or 26-man roster. Imagine that, 26-man rotation, 26-man roster for this Yankee team. There's an extra spot there because now they have to supplement 2 starting positions. So it could be Crook, could be Tully, but I think right now you're probably your bet on Crook is most likely the probable one. I think the team is really high on him. So he's definitely a pitcher to keep an eye on over the next couple of weeks as we approach opening day. And there's a lot of news that's going to be coming out. We're going to be obviously keeping tabs on the Anthony Volpe situation, where Jason Dominguez lands, Oswald Peraza. Peraza has struggled a little bit offensively in spring training. Again, like you got to take it with a grain of salt because it's spring training after all. But just like total sidetrack right here, Ryan, do you think that there's a possibility that Volpe actually ends up winning the starting shortstop job over Peraza, or do you think that's kind of locked in?
I feel like, so Buster Olney reported on this about a week ago where he mentioned that he feels like just based on everything that was being heard in camp, it's going to be Peraza. Peraza's done one thing really well this spring, and while yes, he hasn't hit well, and it's not even the defense, it's been his play discipline. He's shown that he can walk a lot. And I think that the Yankees are going to look at that and say, all right, he's seeing the ball well. He's making good swing decisions. The balls, his batted balls are going to fall for hits. He's going to kind of straighten out that swing as spring goes on. He did battle an injury pretty recently, that little leg issue that he had. Didn't need any testing. He was running fine. But I imagine that's kind of disrupted things because he missed some playing time. And kind of some time to get yourself back into the swing of things. But the way I view it is, Peraza has the highest floor on the team right now in terms of shortstops. He's the best defender on the roster. And if the way I look at it is, if you start Peraza and it doesn't work out, you feel a lot more comfortable benching him and going to Volpe than you do if Volpe is the starting shortstop and he doesn't work out. Because then, number one, not working out could be one of 2 things. Number one, not being a great defender at the position, being a pretty piss poor one. And then number 2, not hitting well. There are 2 ways for Volpe to fail that are realistic at the position. There's really only one way for Peraza to fail, and that's not even by being not a good hitter. It's by being not playable offensively, right? Volpe can't give you a 105 WRC plus at shortstop with average defense and be a star level player. Anthony Volpe could actually probably do that at second base with great defense and be a really good player. I've been comparing him to Marcus Semien so much. Marcus Semien had a 4.2 F4 last year. That was the 36th best position player in the for last year. According to Baseball Reference, Semien was worth 5.7 WAR. That was the 16th best mark among all position players. So kind of, using the different wars here, Semien range between a top 20 or top 40 player, depending on what defensive metrics you like to look at, with a 107 WRC plus, being 7% better than the league average hitter, right? That's not great. That's solid at best, right? It's just not great. Hitting 248 with a 304 on base and 429 slugging, that's just how good of a base runner and defender he is. I think Volpe is that good of a base runner and defender at the second base position. So you kind of have to figure out how you're opening up second base. I think the long-term future of this team is Peraza and Volpe at the middle infield. I think Volpe has a shot to win the shortstop job. I just think it's something that the Yankees won't be comfortable doing, and thus I can't see it happening.
Yeah, and that's totally fair. But if we're looking at second base, that means Gleyber Torres is the odd man out at some point during the regular season, unless they find a way to keep him involved. That would also suggest that Stanton's playing an everyday defensive role because you'd have to have Torres in the DH, but he's too good defensively at the same time. Kind of an interesting situation unfolding here, and Boone and Jen Cashman have a lot to work out because right now it seems like there's some players that are kind of standing in the way of Volpe being promoted, notably IKF and Gleyber, but at the same time, we love Glaber, and he's a great player, and we want to see him get opportunities. So kind of a tough situation for this Yankee team to figure out, but they will get it done nonetheless, and things will unfold naturally. But the two relievers that we do have potentially making the 26-man roster, Matt Crook and Tanner Tully, are certainly having good springs up to this point and should keep tabs on them over the duration of spring training. So would love to hear your thoughts below in the YouTube comment section. As always, my friends, make sure to like and subscribe for daily content on all platforms on the Fireside Yankees channel. So appreciate that as always. We'll catch you guys on the next episode.